The Venn diagram of Twilight versus the Ogre's Bride is almost a circle, and this episode proves it. No, really, this episode has it all. All the maladaptive wish fulfillment contrivances necessary in order to fully live out this particular materialistic fantasy. That was a lot of buzzy sounding words, but they all fit. I want to make something clear, as I did in the last review. You are not a bad person for liking this show, this story, for feeling seen by it. But you also don't get to pretend that you don't live in reality. This show, this manga, this story was informed by reality, by human cultures, and the pressures placed on women in most societies. The show is part of a pattern. It reveals something about specifically Japanese culture, but this is pretty applicable to Western cultures as well. It isn't feminism to say, yes, a rich and powerful man can quit my job for me without even asking me about it in the first place because I want to live a soft life. That's called being stupid. The fantasy is fine, but that fantasy is a response to reality. The fantasy is that the guy that you are handing your autonomy over to will be handsome, rich, and have your best interests at heart. But even in this fantasy, there are cracks. So, here's what happens. Quick summary. The male lead, we open on him in the car on the way to somewhere, I don't know. This is right before he meets the female lead, and he's feeling empty, and then there's like a homing beacon on the female lead, and like it's the soulmate magic happening, and back at the manor house in present time, like Yuzu's getting personally acquainted with the staff again. We get to know the staff better. Rhea is pulled to the main house, and there's like ominous vibes about it. Like maybe like the parents that he's talking to are like not necessarily keen on Yuzu, and I get excited because I think, oh, there's some more conflict. Yuzu gets stupid again. Major bummer. Anyway, she thinks that she's gonna be late to work. We meet the parents. The parents are super nice, and I'm depressed because there's no drama here. Then like Yuzu's really kind of bummed out because she wants to work, but I guess her parents quit her job for her. That's what she thinks at this point. And then so she goes to her friend's house, and like she's worried about the money. And her friend is like, just get him to pay for it, because, that idea couldn't have come from Yuzu herself, unfortunately. But whatever. So the ogre guy, like Rhea comes and finds her at her friend's house. Her friend like gushes over him, and it's really awkward. She like expresses a desire to support herself, but he's all like, your life belongs to me, or something like that. And it's supposed to be very romantic, but it's very controlling. So that's what happens in this episode. Summary over. Back to talking about other stuff. So this show has established very, very clearly by now that it's working with a, quote, shadow daddy archetype in Rhea. He's very Edward Cullen coded, very not as good as Rysand from ACOTAR, but like the same general dark, mysterious kind of vibe to it. He's like a combo between those two characters, I would say. I would recommend doing some research on the trope because it's actually quite interesting and layered, and the places that it comes from is they're multifaceted. It isn't simply, I want a dominant guy. It can also very much so be wanting to feel empowered through a proxy male character, and that makes sense to me. Like, it feels like it's too much for a woman to be domineering in that way, and so that desire gets expressed through this male character. And that's interesting. That's intriguing. It would be cool even if it wasn't also attached to this whole trad wife coded messaging that they're trying to get across with this story. Yuzu definitely has that Bella syndrome where she wants to work, but her rich boyfriend just insists she doesn't have to. So, oh well, she relents and lets it go. She thinks Rhea is handsome and cool, and so the story has a friend gush about him on her behalf. In the canon, like, this embarrasses her, but her friend says it, so it's like out of her hands, it's out of her control. And her BF is like so hot that her friend, who is also a bride to a demon, who is a pretty cute demon too, also like gushes over this guy in a way that she doesn't with her own BF. Like, it's weird. It's that Bella thing where the world bends to suit the narrative, except like Yuzu just doesn't have Bella's emotional like depth at this point, or depth of personality, and it seems like the story isn't setting her up to be formidable. So what do I mean exactly by the narrative bending backwards to support these things that Yuzu wants? So Yuzu can't, on her own, in order to maintain her dignity and purity as a woman, she can't on her own want materialistic things, like to not have to work and to just have things in general. So the narrative sets up the conditions that she gets these things without having to ask, right? So it feels contrived. So in Twilight, for example, Alice exists in order to get Bella into beautiful outfits that the character doesn't want on her own, but the narrative puts her in the position where she can have these things anyway, have these things without having to feel the guilt of want, which is what's happening here. So anyway, back to the formidable concept, like within Twilight, right? And within ACOTAR and other series as well, other like Eastern series even, like I don't mean to super focus on, romantasy from a Western lens. But in a lot of those stories, there is a journey, right? Where the character starts as the weak human and then gains power to stand next to these super powerful beings. In this world, the human bride doesn't get any special powers aside from being the special to a particular demon. She's not going to become formidable. She's not going to get her own super special powers. She will remain special but fragile. Exactly the position most cultures around the world want women to be in. This frames the control as like fawning, as Yuzu being the most precious piece in Rhea's collection, a source of pride and status, but nothing else. Next episode also includes, I guess, a secretary who's her rival, and the cliches just keep piling up. This review took me a really long time to do, to really sit and digest, because I'm just baffled by the brazenness of it. I'm baffled by the lack of ambition in the Cinderella character, and I love Cinderella stories. It's still compelling, but I do feel like it was designed in a lab to be as misogynistic as possible while appealing to women. With birth rates in Japan being super low as they are everywhere else in the world, I can't help but feel just a little conspiratorial about it all. There are family forward series that feel less pro-natalist and tradwife that I feel got hit with a lot more of those allegations than I see with this one. Not to say that this one doesn't have people talking about it in that way, but I do see a lot more romanticization about it. I wonder if that's just the growing normalization of super big misogyny. Who knows? But contrasting this one specifically with Spy Family, which is one that I got a lot of pro-family, pro-natalist vibes, in terms of how the community looked at it. Contrasting those two was really interesting. In Ogre's Bride, we're placing genetics and this quick burn romantic obsession on a pedestal, where Spy Family places found family and slow burn romance, like maybe not on a pedestal, but it's more like it's looking really fondly on those things. It's not making a judgment call about what families are better than others. It's just like saying this family that we're telling a story about is valid too. I do really like the cat demon and the best friend's relationship, the romance between these two. It feels like, at least comparably, very equitable and sweet. There's a give and take here, and honestly, I vibe with it. The friend character is feisty and strong. She's a doer of things, maybe slightly less a wanter of things, but it feels like there's more of a wanting happening here. She has subverted my initial impression of her, and she still definitely does fit in within a good girl sort of umbrella within the series philosophy, but she is not quite so plugged into that binary as most of the other characters are. And so as a result, she feels more real. I'm not advocating for Yuzu to be like her friend. I just sort of want to return again, like I said, to that episode 1 Yuzu, to that feminine rage Yuzu. I want to explore and expose that darkness in her again, because frankly, that kind of trauma and the darkness that and the fear and the anger and all of that and the sadness and the depression doesn't just go away because you have a rich hot guy enter the picture. That doesn't disappear, and it doesn't just dissipate. It sits there, and it'll build up. Like, let's deal with that, please. Give us the feminine rage. Anyway, aside from all of that, aside from the themes, the animation remains consistent, music, etc. It's all just good enough. If you have liked it so far, I expect you'll like it going forward. If you are intrigued by the drama and the messiness of it, then I expect that you will still be intrigued by it. If you are just like simply not bothered by some of the themes discussed, then I feel like you'll probably have a good time with it still too. Anyway, I don't know if I'm having a good time with it, but there's a lot to talk about, so come back for round 5, I guess. Like, comment, subscribe if you feel like. If you don't feel like it, I super understand.